Lots of Tesla stock news today. Let's start with the attack against Elon Musk.
I'd just like to know, are you still using Starlink? I know you have before. That's Elon Musk's SpaceX satellite constellation. And I ask that because he's kind of fanboyed over, Vladimir Putin. He said some very, very sort of lovely things about that autocrat. It's a little disturbing, especially considering Putin has been somebody, again, free speech. I get Elon can talk about that.
I like him. I think he's a super important entrepreneur. We don't have to agree on everything. His products work.
The Fox anchor is talking utter nonsense. I challenged Putin to a physical fight over Ukraine, and SpaceX provided massive support to Ukraine, as the Ukrainian government has repeatedly acknowledged. This is relevant to us Tesla stock investors because if both political parties start going against Elon Musk, that's not going to be great for Tesla, is it? Finally, ARK Invest did not sell any Tesla stock yesterday. Elon Musk just said that he drove the performance Cybertruck and that it is next level. This led to a lot of speculation that probably the Cybertruck will not have a plaid version, but it will just have a long range and then a performance version, just like, for example, the Model 3 has right now. My main takeaway from Elon testing the Cybertruck is that the Cybertruck is indeed very close to being released. President Joe Biden says he will travel to Michigan on Tuesday to show support for the United Auto Workers strike against Ford, GM, and Stellantis. The last US president to show such support for striking workers like this was back in 1902. Good news from Giga Mexico. Tesla is one step closer to the start of construction of Giga Mexico because we just got the environmental impact permits. Tesla can only clear land that is required for the current construction. Tesla can then clear subsequent areas as the construction continues to expand, so it cannot clear everything all at once, which is not ideal, but we'll take it. With the approved permits, Tesla now has 26 months to begin construction. However, there are still some other permits Tesla must have in hand before they can do that, one of which is the land use permit, which is still with local officials awaiting approval. I also found these documents about Giga Mexico construction. This is in Spanish, and here it is translated to English. The Tesla economist says, wow, seriously, can't believe the stock didn't crash when it looked like massive delays in Mexico seemed pretty much inevitable, basically. No clear near future of ramping without it. This sounds much more promising with the permit being approved. Market might not care, but nice to see a potential path of more EVs from Tesla. To me, actually, that was not surprising at all, because if you look at Wall Street, for example, Morgan Stanley, this is from July, they expect that in 2030, Tesla will sell more Model 3s and Model Ys than the compacts. I think the next generation vehicle largely is not really priced in. Good news, more Tesla police vehicles will be hitting the streets of California as the Auburn City Council approved the purchase of the Model Y for their police department. The police department requested to reallocate funds slated for the purchase of a Chevy Tahoe to go toward a Tesla Model 3. You just wait until the Cybertruck comes out. James says something that makes sense here. Hard to disagree with the UAW on the topic of Mary Barra's salary. She has created zero value for GM shareholders over her entire tenure as CEO. Why is she worth over $20 million per year? If she's worth over $20 million per year, no wonder the blue collars want more money. And James must be really happy because Elon actually replied to his post just now. Corporate compensation should be proportionate to success, just like it is for pro sports, says Elon. For quite a long time, James wondered if maybe Elon blocked him or muted him, but with Elon replying to James, we now know Elon sees some posts, at least from James. In other words, Elon must see quite a few posts from some Tesla stock investors that want Tesla to start advertising. A Tesla bear just called out Gary Black. Hey Gary Black, why would you own Tesla stock given this news? You have never commented on this. It's a serious issue and your shareholders have no idea. This story is basically about the glass house that Elon Musk supposedly wanted to build. I think this is pretty much Gary's opinion. How many FUD pieces were proven to be just that? FUD. How many autopilot crash investigations that ended up being FUD and drivers' fault? How many lawsuits against Tesla that ended up cleared? Very soon, this will be in the very crowded FUD cemetery. Amen, said Gary Black. I agree. That whole thing with the glass house, even if it was completely true, that does not impact us Tesla shareholders really at all. Tesla's market cap is close to $1 trillion, and Here we would be worrying about a few million or maybe tens of millions of dollars, possibly max. And we now know very clearly that Elon is not trying to build any house for himself anywhere using any money, his or Tesla's. So this is just ridiculous. The main entrance of Giga Texas has now been finished. It looks pretty nice. Do you like it? I love it. According to data compiled by Energy Sage, Tesla's Powerwall commands a 25% market share of the home storage market in the United States. Enphase took the lead in the first half of 2021 due to the fact that Tesla was severely supply limited from its auto business. In addition, you may recall that in March of 2021, Tesla stopped selling Powerwall unless it was bundled with Tesla Solar. This was due to the battery supply shortage, and it artificially reduced the demand for Powerwall. As of March of this year, this changed and Powerwall orders opened. However, Tesla's shares still decreased by a little bit. But the same can also be said about Enphase, which is Tesla's biggest competitor here. With Powerwall 3 launching this fall and with the conversion to LFP, I suspect supply will no longer be a concern and expect Powerwall market share to increase moving forward. If you look at Enphase pricing, we will see that it is quite a bit more expensive than Tesla right here. So Tesla is very well positioned in terms of price. Also, Tesla is offering that $500 discount still, which further solidifies Tesla's strong position, and the market for battery storage in the US is expected to continue expanding rapidly between 2021 and 2022. It grew 47%. However, the US IRA will ensure that this accelerates considerably. Huge battery credits are provided to battery manufacturers, and these will last until 2032. Prior to 2023, there were no tax credits for standalone storage purchases, only when bundled with solar. But for the period between 2023 and 32, Powerwall and other systems like it receive a 30% tax credit alone. That's directly to the consumer. Tesla's $8,400 Powerwall now costs $5,700 before installation. Just so you understand how big of a deal that is, right now if you buy a Model Y for $50,500 and you get a $7,500 credit, that's nothing like a 30% subsidy for these Powerwalls. So it would be basically the same as getting a $15,000 tax credit from the government if you bought a Model Y. And here are reasons why people want to buy these Powerwalls. Backup power remains a strong reason. Self-supply has really increased. I think that's due to extreme weather events, so I would expect that to go down later as our weather gets a little bit better, if it does get better. But savings on utility rates still remains probably in the long term the number one reason why people are switching. So with more savings, demand will increase. James is also really bullish on the gross margin for Powerwalls. He says it could be easily 50% because of the battery credits and because of the economies of scale due to Tesla's auto business. However, I think it's important to keep in mind that Tesla consistently guided that all products aim for long-term margins in the mid-20s or, well, aligned with the car business as well. I do share my expectations for the energy business in my valuation model, which you can see exclusively on Patreon by clicking on the link down below. Elon just called Ron Barron awesome. Elon said, yep, to this post from Chuck Cook, I have issues with hardware placement and things that should be simple for FSD beta, but I challenge anyone to drive in my Tesla with FSD. You will come to the conclusion that autonomy is possible. We just have to wait to see how it comes to fruition and how soon. Billionaire Larry Ellison thinks that full self-driving cars are coming in the next 12 months from Tesla. Dave thinks it's a bit optimistic, but we shall see. Troy found an error in his old table. Here's the new updated one. Many retail investors don't like when I repost negative Tesla stock stories or investment research here on Twitter. But please remember, Twitter is not where most portfolio managers get their information from. Brokers send portfolio managers daily news summaries, and analysts post their research on First Call, Capital IQ, and Bloomberg. Me posting negative stories or research here is so retail investors can know what is being posted in the institutional channels and to try to level the playing field. Me posting a negative story or research here rarely moves Tesla stock since most portfolio managers have already seen it and reacted to it. Now, to that I would say, but the retail investors probably have not seen this. So I think retail investors get upset about this because they think other retail investors will see it and therefore maybe they will sell Tesla stock, at least the traders. Well, Gary continues, also keep in mind that for Tesla stock to go up after an event, actuals need to beat expectations. If expectations are too high, for example, Q3 deliveries, it's in everyone's best interest to get expectations down prior to the event so that Tesla stock can perform well and we don't get negative media coverage that can puncture Tesla's relatively high multiple. I think to some extent that actually makes sense. Now, if the expectations come down right now, I think Tesla stock would come down right now. However, if we don't have this huge negative media attention, then overall, I think the stock would do better even in the short term. For those that criticize Gary Black, I think it's important to understand this. Gary was sort of called out here. He was accused that basically he makes money from both buying stocks and having them go up, but also shorting stocks and having them go down. But Gary points out here that he is not a bear. I don't have clients who play shorts short term. I own Tesla stock and make money for my clients only if it goes up. Average Ford F-150 monthly payment nears $1,000, so they should advertise. I do enjoy following Farzad on Twitter quite a bit. Gary Black shared his take on why he thinks Tesla stock has been going down in the last few days. He senses that many momentum-driven hedge funds who weren't aware of the Tesla China weekly registration shortfalls in the past 3 weeks, which need to be extended to the next 2 weeks as well, because of no Model 3s to sell, are among the sellers yesterday. Everyone should know that Q3 deliveries will fall well short of Q2 deliveries of 466,000. Gary's estimate is 445,000. But many haven't been keeping up with this level of detail. This should fix itself when Tesla's investment relations posts its sell-side Q3 delivery survey next week. I expect 440,000 only, said Gary Black, which should limit the downside surprise on the 2nd of October, which is when the delivery should be announced. Refresh Model 3 is available for review at some Tesla stores in China. So far, the reviews I have read are pretty positive, says Ray, and many say it looks better in person than in pictures, which is great. Back seats used to receive the most complaints by reviewers, he says. New Model 3 has taken care of that by giving you a bit more leg support. There are also a few more small changes. Powerwall owners in San Diego can now make money if they are SD-G&E customers, so that's great news. This will also help Tesla sell more Powerwalls. According to an Autoline survey, 42% of car shoppers cite price as the biggest reason for not purchasing an EV. The second biggest reason is range, which really is price, because if you have more money, you can buy a vehicle that does have more range. 3% of the people said that they wouldn't buy an EV because of a social stigma of EVs. I would like them to also put another one in here that would have something to do with Elon Musk. I'm not buying an EV because of Elon Musk. And there are some really bad beliefs in here. For example, safety of battery in a crash. Overall, EVs are, well, at least Teslas definitely are, much safer than any gas-powered vehicles. Elon also replied to this post. This post was about one Cybertruck being in this outbound lot, to which Elon said, "How do people keep figuring out that it's a Cybertruck under the cover?" I mostly agree with everything here, except there's one thing that I strongly disagree with. Dave Lee says, once autonomous driving is solved, we will likely see a gradual and long-term transformation of urban and suburban areas. In urban areas, high-demand parking spots or lots may no longer command a premium, as autonomous cars can drop you off and park themselves in cheaper spots. As a result, autonomous cars allow for a chance to improve the design of urban centers by converting previous parking infrastructure to green areas, parks, walking corridors, and/or residential zones. Further, autonomous cars will eventually impact urban traffic flow, as fewer people will be circling the block looking for parking, meaning less congestion, possibly. Autonomous cars will make it easier for people who live farther from their workplaces by allowing easier, cheaper, and more convenient transportation to and from work. The part that I disagree very strongly with is this right here. It will cost a lot less money to call a robotaxi than to own a car. So therefore, many people that, for example, would have taken, let's say, a bus will now take a robotaxi. And many people that would have just stayed at home will now go somewhere. That will put many more people on the roads. And also, if you live further away from work, maybe you're now okay with that longer commute because you can do something else while you are in the car. So you're willing to travel a little bit further, which by default puts more miles on the roads, which creates more traffic. So I am 99.9% sure that once we have this transition, we will have a lot more traffic. Elon Musk, by the way, said this many times before as well. And I agree with every single point that Steven made here. Autonomy will meaningfully disrupt domestic air travel too. The convenience of getting in an autonomous vehicle and arriving at your destination a few hours later versus taking a taxi to the airport, going through security, waiting around, boarding, flying, disembarking, waiting for luggage, getting a taxi, and arriving at your destination cannot be overstated. In my own case, I could literally plan, record, edit, and upload content in an autonomous vehicle during a multi-hour trip or even an all-day trip. Try doing that on the way to an airport, in an airport, on a flight, etc. You can't really do that. I couldn't record a video if I was on an airplane, even if I was in first class. It's weird. I would much rather spend maybe an hour extra to get to my destination if I have the privacy of a robotaxi, because I can predictably use pretty much the whole time, but I can't do that at all if I'm flying. Dylan from Electrified has some pretty good points here. One thing is certain, the endless bickering and posturing about Tesla advertising or not is going to look pretty silly looking back on this time in 2030. It's not as if there's one narrow path for Tesla to become the most valuable company in the world. There are actually endless ways for Tesla to do this, and I fully agree with that. When the autonomy code is cracked, everything else will pale in comparison. I agree. But many still think, will this happen? I do believe it will happen, it's just a matter of time. And that not being fully priced in gives me a further Tesla stock buying opportunity. Elon and the Tesla team have heard that Tesla should advertise camp loud and clear the past few years. I'm also not trying to argue that debates are pointless. Challenging assumptions is valuable, I agree. But to the camp that gets emotionally charged up over it one way or another, in the end, it really will not matter. I think for the most part that actually is true. It's not like Tesla is somehow going to screech to a grinding halt and go under due to lack of advertising. Let's also not forget Tesla is doing some advertising. It may not be much, but it's a start. And if temporarily the margins did go down to pretty much 0%, that would give us a huge buying opportunity, and it would create a lot of drama, certainly, and a lot of sales. Call me optimistic, but I really think 2024 and 25 will be major years for EV education, with hopefully other automakers other than Tesla getting to market with somewhat compelling and affordable options, and NACS actually becoming the US standard. Now the industry can move forward with clarity because they know, okay, go with this standard and not that silly CSS standard. The IRA credit moving to point of sale should be a great accelerant as well, definitely. If the EV community is honest, there really are not that many compelling EVs available right now, and with the interest rate environment, the situation is even worse. However, I would like to point out that the auto industry is actually growing despite much higher interest rates. The auto sales increased by 16.2% year over year in August in the US. Lastly, the narrative around EVs is not going to shift just because Tesla makes ads telling people they are better. The public needs to be able to drive a Tesla or another EV that costs under $30,000 with solid range and features that will break the stigma around EV adoption better than any perfectly served ad. Per that, with the narrative around public charging improving, and that is the winning recipe. The best advertising Tesla can do is to execute on the next generation platform and force the rest of the industry to follow suit with autonomous affordable EVs or die. Yep, next gen car will be the best advertising Tesla can do. Doing this made me require 15 to 60 minutes less sleep, plus 4 other sleep hacks are in this Patreon exclusive video. By joining my Patreon, you will get access to how much I think it is fair to pay per Tesla share each year between 2023 2033 and 2033. If you sign up for the investor tier of support, you will also get my valuation model of Tesla stock with a 45-minute video walkthrough. YouTube says you should watch this video next or watch this discussion about the future with Elon Musk. My name is Matt Post. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.